Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Knitting for Baby. Thanks for watching. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to knit this little cardigan sweater for baby girls between 12 and 18 months old. It's very easy to make, so I hope you like it. Now, you can also make it smaller or bigger. I'd say between 6 months and up to 24 months. So be sure to check out the information box below. There, I will leave some information on how you can make it smaller or bigger. Okay, so let's get started, and thank you for watching. Okay, to begin, I'll be using these 4mm knitting needles, and today I'm using this number 4 yarn. This is the brand of yarn that I'm using. It's called Yarn B. This is a medium number 4 yarn, and the color here is soft pink. Now, to begin, we need to cast on 69 stitches. So the first thing that I'm going to do to determine how much yarn I need for my long tail is I need to wrap my yarn like this 20 times to both needles. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we have enough for 20 stitches here, and we need 69. So double it up. That's enough for 40. Double it up again. That's enough for 60. And we're going to double it up again. Enough for 80. I'm going to leave it like this. I rather have a little bit left than not have enough. So now here, what we're going to do is we're going to make a loop. Insert both needles through there. And we're going to cast on 69 stitches using the long tail cast on. This here is coming from a long tail, and this here is coming from the skein. So here, we're going to open the yarn like this, like a V, and then we're going to go from left to right, and we're going to grab a loop. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. I'm just going to continue like this until I have 69 stitches on my needles. Continue, and I'll meet you once we have our stitches cast on to show you the first row. Okay, I finished casting on my stitches. I have 69, and this is all the yarn that I had left over here. So what we're going to do is just tie a small knot here at the end. Okay, so now we're going to pull one of the needles gently like this, carefully. And now what we're going to do is we are going to knit and purl beginning with the first stitch. I'm going to knit, and I'm going to purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and purl all the way to the end. And that's all I'm going to do for this first row. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. Continue to the end of this first row. I'm here at the end of this first row. Now this last stitch here I have to knit because this one here is a purl. So we're going to knit the last stitch. Now we're going to turn for the second row. Now in this row, what I'm going to do is I'm going to purl the first stitch because I had to knit the last stitch in my last row, and then I'm going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit, purl, knit, purl. Continue like this to the end of this second row. I'm here at the end of this second row. This last stitch here, I'm going to purl. Now we're going to turn for the third row. Here, what you're going to do for the third and fourth row is the same thing. Here we need to knit the first stitch because the last stitch I purled, so you're just going to do the opposite. So knit the first stitch, and then you're going to purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. When you finish this row, you're going to turn and then do one more row. So I will meet you at the end of the fourth row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this fourth row. This last stitch I have to purl. Now for this 5th row, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip the first stitch and then I'm going to knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put a stitch marker. These are always going to be our border stitch. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to knit all of these stitches until we come to the last 5 stitches. There we're going to add a buttonhole at the end of this 5th row. So the stitches in between here we're always going to knit like this. Okay, so continue, knit all of these stitches, and I'll meet you right here 5 stitches before we finish to show you how we're going to make our first buttonhole. Okay, I'm here at the end of this 5th row. I have 5 stitches before I finish, but before I continue, I'm going to put a stitch marker here just to mark our border stitches here from here on. Now, I'm going to knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together, and then purl the last stitch. And here's our first buttonhole. Now from here on, this is going to be the right side. This is the side that you're going to see because our buttonhole is going to be on the right side. Now we're going to turn for row 6, and here we are going to slip the first stitch. You're going to knit 4. 1. Now this yarn over here, I'm going to knit through the back loop because I don't want this to be too big. There, perfect. And then knit 2 more. Okay, so we slipped 1 and then knit 4 past your stitch marker, and you're going to purl across to the last 5 stitches where you are going to knit 4 and then purl the last stitch. Continue like this for this 6th row. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I'm here at the end of this 6th row. Now we're going to pass our stitch marker and we have our last 5 stitches. We're going to knit 4 and then purl the last stitch. And here's the 6th row. Now we're going to turn, and here we're going to begin our pattern. So let's see. I'm going to start counting rows because it's easier for me to tell you. Each one of these repeats consists of 6 rows. So I'm going to start counting for each repeat. These stitches here, remember, we always slip the first stitch, knit 4. This never changes. We're always going to do this. Pass your stitch marker. Now what we're going to do into the next 4 stitches is the following. Into these 4 stitches, you're going to knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, then knit 1 and purl 1. As we have knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, purl. And then we're going to repeat the same thing. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, purl 1. Again, into the next 4 stitches, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, purl 1. Again, into the next 4, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, purl 1. Again, one more time, 4 stitches, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, purl 1. That's all you're going to do. Continue, and I'll meet you 7 stitches before we finish to show you how we're going to finish this first row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this first row to our first repeat. Now, 3 stitches before our stitch marker, this is what we're going to do. We're going to knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, and knit 1. Pass your stitch marker, and you're going to knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then purl the last stitch. Now we're going to turn for the second row, slip the first stitch, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now pass your stitch marker, and here you're going to purl 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knit 1, purl 5. Knit 1, purl 5. Continue like this for this second row to our first repeat. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I'm here at the end of this second row to our first repeat. Now pass your stitch marker, and here we're going to knit 4, purl the last stitch. And here's the second row. Now turn, slip the first stitch, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, pass your stitch marker, and here we're going to knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, purl 1, knit 5. That's all you're going to do for this third row. Knit 5, and then purl 1. You are starting to really see how the pattern goes because we are always going to purl this stitch here. Knit 5, purl 1. Continue like this to the end of this third row. I'll meet you here to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this third row. Pass your stitch marker, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, purl the last stitch. And here's the third row. Now turn for the fourth row here. What we're going to do is we're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, pass your stitch marker, and here we're going to purl 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 1, purl 5. This row is the same thing as the second row. Purl 5 and knit 1. Continue to the end of this fourth row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this fifth row. Pass your stitch marker, and you're going to knit 4. Now this part I'm not going to show you anymore because you know that we always knit 4 and then purl the last stitch for every row, no matter which side you're in. Now turn, row 5, slip the first stitch, knit 4, pass your stitch marker, and you're going to knit 5, purl 1, knit 5, purl 1. That's all you're going to do for this fifth row. When you finish this row, you're going to do your border stitches. You're going to knit 4, purl 1, turn, slip the first stitch, knit 4, and then you're going to purl 5, knit 1, purl 5, knit 1. And that's all you're going to do to the end of the sixth row, where you're going to finish with knit 4, purl the last stitch. I'll meet you at the end of the sixth row. Okay, I finished my first repeat. We did a total of 6 rows. So now we're going to make another 6 rows for the second repeat, and this is how we're going to work the second repeat. we're going to slip the first stitch and then knit 4. This part here is still the same. Pass your stitch marker. Now into these next 6 stitches, 2, 4, 6, this is what we're going to do. We're going to knit 2, 1 and 2, then yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, and then again knit 2 and purl 1. See, here's our purl row. Again, the next 6 stitches, 2, 4, 6, this one's a purl right here. So you're going to knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, purl 1. So knit 2, 1 and 2, then yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, and then again knit 2 and purl 1. That's how you're going to continue. We have the next 6 stitches. You're going to knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, purl 1. So let me show you again. You're going to knit 2, 1 and 2, then yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, and then again knit 2 and purl 1. Knit 2, 1, 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, purl 1. One more time. I want to make sure you all get this. It's very easy. Knitting is all about repeats. Okay, so knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, purl 1. Continue like this to the end, right about here, to show you how we're going to finish this first row to our second repeat. I'm here at the end of this first row to our second repeat. This is where we do the yarn overs in this row, so I have 5 stitches here before the stitch marker. Here we're going to knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, and knit 2. And then pass your stitch marker and you're going to knit 4 and purl the last stitch. Here's the first row. Now turn for the second row, and this row is super easy because all you have to do now is look at your rows of purls. In this row you're going to knit, and the stitches in between you're going to purl. Let me show you. Slip the first stitch, knit 4, pass your stitch marker, and you're going to purl 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, knit 1, and then again purl 7. This stitch is super easy. It's got 6 rows that you have to repeat, but they're very easy. And then knit 1. That's all you're going to do to the end of this second row. Purl 7, knit 1, purl 7, knit 1. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. I'm here at the end of this second row to our second repeat. Now we're going to turn for row 3. This row is very easy. Again, you're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4, pass your stitch marker, and here you're going to knit 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, purl 1, and then again knit 7. This is how you're going to work your third row to the second repeat. Now, when you finish this row, let me finish this here. So knit 7, purl 1. Now when you finish this row, here at the end, you're going to always do the knit 4 and then purl the last. Then you're going to turn, slip the first stitch, knit 4, and then you're going to purl 7, knit 1, purl 7, knit 1. That's how you're going to work the 4th row. Continue, and I'll meet you at the end of the 4th row. Okay, I finished row 3 and 4. I'm at the end of the 4th row of the 2nd repeat. Now for rows 5 and 6, which are the last 2 rows to this 2nd repeat, we're going to do the same thing we did for rows 3 and 4. You're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4, pass your stitch marker, and you're going to knit 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, purl 1, and then again you're going to knit 7, purl 1 all the way to the end. When you finish this row, you're going to turn, slip the first stitch, knit 4, and then you're going to purl 7, knit 1, purl 7, knit 1 all the way to the end of that 6th row. I'll meet you at the end of the 6th row to show you how we're going to work our 3rd repeat. Okay, I finished row 5 and 6 of the 2nd repeat, and that's what it looks like. Now we're going to make the 3rd repeat. So here, again, slip the first stitch, knit 4, and I think I'm going to make a buttonhole at the end of this row. Yes, because we did one here, and so we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 rows. So yes, it's about time we do a 2nd buttonhole. So here I slipped 1, knit 4, pass your stitch marker, and here what we're going to do is we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 3, purl 1. That's how we're going to continue. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 3, purl 1. This is how you're going to continue for this 1st row to our 3rd repeat. You're going to knit 3, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 3, purl 1. Remember, these purl rows right here, they always remain the same. Continue, and I'll meet you at the end right here to show you how we're going to make our 2nd buttonhole. Okay, I'm here at the end of this 1st row to our 3rd repeat. This is where we do the yarn overs. Now, in this row, I'm going to make my 2nd buttonhole. So pass your stitch marker. You're going to knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together like this, and then purl 1. And here's our 2nd buttonhole. Now turn for the 2nd row, slip the first stitch, knit 1, and you're going to knit this stitch, but you're going to knit this through the back loop like this, and then knit 2 more. And here's the 2nd buttonhole. From here on, you're going to have to be careful. Now from here on, you're going to add your buttons in the same way with the same spacing. I think I'm only going to do 3, so I'm only going to add 1 more button here. Now here we're going to pass our stitch marker, and we're going to purl 9 in this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, knit 1, and then again purl 9. This is how you're going to continue for this 2nd row to our 3rd repeat. You're just going to purl 9 and knit 1. That's all you're going to do. Continue to the end of this 2nd row. Okay, I finished the second row to our third repeat. So now for the third and fifth row, you're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4. This part is always the same. Slip the first stitch, knit 4, and then you're going to pass your stitch marker and you're going to knit 9 and purl 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, purl 1, and then again you're going to knit 9, purl 1, knit 9, purl 1, all the way to the end of this third row, and you're going to do the same thing for the fifth row. Now for rows 4 and 6, you are going to turn, and this part here is the same. You slip the first stitch, knit 4, and then you're going to pass your stitch marker and you're going to purl 9, knit 1, purl 9, knit 1. That's how you're going to work these next 4 rows for the third repeat. I'll meet you at the end of the 6th row. Okay, I just finished rows 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and I completed the third repeat. Now you should have a total of 18 rows so far. From here we have 18 rows. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 rows, and I counted my stitches. If I counted correctly, I have 159 stitches up to this last row that I did, which is the third repeat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do one more repeat. I'm going to add 6 more rows here, and we're going to do the following here. You're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4, pass your stitch marker, and here we're going to knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then purl 1. Again, this is how you're going to work this row. You're going to knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 4, and purl 1. This is how you're going to continue for this first row to our fourth repeat. I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this first row to our fourth repeat. This is where we do the yarn overs. Now I'm here at the end. I'm just going to pass my stitch marker here, and I'm going to knit 4, and purl 1. And here's the first row to the fourth repeat. Now for the second row, you're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, pass your stitch marker, and here you're going to now purl, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. We're going to purl 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then you're going to knit 1, and then again repeat purl 11. Continue like this for this second row, where you just purl 11, knit 1, purl 11, knit 1, all the way to the end. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. Okay, I finished the second row to the fourth repeat. Now what you're going to do for rows 3 and 5 is you're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4, pass your stitch marker, and then you're going to knit 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then purl 1. And then again, you're going to repeat knit 11, purl 1, knit 11, purl 1, all the way to the end of this 3rd row and the 5th row. Now, once you finish the row, you're going to turn, and for rows 4 and 6, you're going to slip the first stitch, knit 4, and then you're going to purl 11, knit 1, purl 11, knit 1. That's how you're going to work these 4 rows. Continue, and I will meet you once we complete this 4th repeat to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished rows 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the 4th repeat. Now this completes this part. The yoke is done. I have a total of 189 stitches for this last row that I did, and it's measuring from the top of the neckline down to the last row. It's measuring about 12 centimeters, which is about 4.75 inches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to divide the sleeves, and here I have placed my stitch markers. So we have 189 stitches. So for the front panels, I'm going to have 28 and 28. For the sleeves, I'm going to have 38 and 38. And for the back side, I'm going to have 57. So with that, we're going to now divide the sleeves here. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit these 28 stitches, except for the first one where I'm going to slip. So we're going to knit. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, remove your stitch marker, and then knit until we come to the stitch marker. So that's 6, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then this stitch here, I'm going to knit. That's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Now I'm going to remove this stitch marker here. This is going to be the front panel, and I'm going to put these 38 stitches to my needle here with yarn. I'm going to do the sleeves last, so I'm just going to remove these stitches here and put them on hold. So here we're going to remove 38 stitches. Okay, here's the last stitch. Now we're going to keep these here on hold. So we're going to continue here with the rest of the sweater. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to add 2 stitches here. So we're going to twist like this. That's 1, twist again, and that's 2. We're just going to add 2 stitches here. And now we're just going to continue and work our stitches in the same way, like this, around the back. Continue, and I will meet you here at this other side to show you how we're going to divide the other sleeve. Okay, I finished these 57 stitches, and the purl stitches in between I also knit. I'm not going to continue with the same pattern, but if you want to, you can just easily just continue in the same way. But here for the rest of the sweater, I'm just going to continue with knit 1 row and then purl the next. Now we're going to remove the stitch marker here for the other sleeve, and again we're going to remove these stitches So here's the last stitch. Now I'm going to put this stitch marker here on this side so that when I do the sleeve, I know that I need to start on this side and I'm going to go this way. I like to do this because I have done the mistake before where I start my sleeves on the wrong side and then it's just a big mess to fix it, at least for me. So that prevents that. So there, just do the same thing on the other side. So here we're going to now add 2 stitches to this side in the same way. There, 2. Now we're just going to continue for this side here and finish here at the end. Here at the end we're going to have to add our 3rd buttonhole. So I'll meet you here at the end to show you how we're going to add that buttonhole. Okay, I'm here at the end of this first row. We're going to start counting rows here. This is where we divided the sleeves. Now here at the end we have our last 5 stitches, so knit 4, actually knit 2 because we're going to do the buttonhole. So knit 2 and then yarn over, knit 2 together, and then purl. Now from here on, we already know every so many stitches we're going to be adding our buttonholes. Here I've been adding mine every 12th row, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So you can do the same thing. I'm going to continue in the same way for the rest of the sweater. So now for the second row, we're going to turn. Oh, before we continue, you should have a total of 117 stitches in this first row. We have 28 and 28 for each one of the front panels, and then we have 57 for the back, and then we added 2 extra stitches under each sleeve, so that's a total of 117 stitches for the first row. Now for this second row, slip the first stitch, knit 1, and then knit this yarn over through the back loop like this, and then knit 1 more. Now we're going to purl across like this on this row. So when you're on the wrong side, you're going to purl. When you're on the right side, you're going to knit from here on, except for the these stitches here along the side. You're going to always knit, and in the right side as well. So I'm going to show you here what we need to do once we get to the 2 stitches we did under the sleeve. I tried this part with 6 stitches and it didn't work out, so I had to undo this part here. 6 stitches was too many. We didn't need that many, so I only added 2. So here are the 2 extra stitches, so you just purl them. And then continue for the back side, purling till you come to the other sleeve where you're going to do the same thing. So continue for this second row and I'll meet you here at the end. Okay, I finished this second row. Now we're going to turn for the third row, and for the rest of the sweater, these are the 2 rows that you're going to do. You're going to knit when you're on the right side, and then you're going to purl when you're on the wrong side. And then these stitches here along the edge are always the same no matter what side you're on. You're always knit 4 and purl the last. So here, to start you off for the rest of the sweater, you're going to slip the first stitch, knit across to the last 4, and then purl the last stitch. This is all I'm going to do. I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do. The only thing that you need to do from here on is to add the buttonholes every 12 rows. So far we have done 3. So you need to continue in that same way, adding your buttonholes. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many rows I'm going to do here, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows we're going to do, and all we're going to do is knit for the right side and then purl for the wrong side. And then again, the stitches here along the edge always remain the same no matter what side you're in. Okay, so continue watching and I will meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I'm here at the end of row 74. I've counted rows from here, from this first row that we did where we started this part. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74 rows. And I have a total of 7 buttonholes so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In this row, I just finished my last buttonhole. So now what I'm going to do for the next couple of rows is I'm going to knit for every row to create the bottom of the little sweater here. You can finish this here also in this way so that it's a little bit more snug around the waist if you prefer it that way. But I'm just going to knit for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 rows on the right side and on the wrong side. So we're going to continue with the garter stitch here. So to do this, all you're going to do is, instead of purling on this side, you're going to also knit. So you're going to slip the first stitch, then knit all of these stitches. The buttonhole I'm going to knit through the back loop and then knit. So from here on, for a couple more rows, all we're going to do is knit. We're just going to finish here. I'm not going to add any more buttonholes, but I'm going to do these rows here at the bottom. So continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do here for the bottom of this baby sweater. And you'll see there exactly how many rows I'm going to do, just like this. So all I'm doing is knit for every row. Continue watching and I'll meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I finished making the bottom part. I did a total of 8 rows, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to close in this last row, so we're going to bind off our stitches. So here we're going to slip the first stitch, knit the next, and then pass the first over the last stitch that you knit. Again, knit 1, bring the first stitch over this stitch, knit 1, bring the stitch over, knit 1, bring the stitch over, and so on. This is how we're going to finish this part here. And then we're going to move on to make the sleeves of this little sweater. Now, I think this bottom part here is a tiny bit long, but it's okay. If you want to make it shorter, you can. I'm going to leave it like this. I just think the baby's going to be able to wear a little bit longer. That's why I did it a tiny bit longer. It's not much, maybe a centimeter or 2 longer, but it's okay. So continue doing this until we finish at the end, and then I'm going to come back and show you how we're going to make the sleeves to this knit baby sweater. Okay, I finished this part. This is what it looks like. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do one of the sleeves. I already did one of the sleeves here. I did the right side, so I'm going to show you how to do the left side, but you're going to do it in the exact same way. So here, remember we left a stitch marker, and the stitch marker is right here. So we're going to start and pick up our stitches right here. So we have a total of 38 stitches, and that's the number of stitches that we're going to use to make our sleeve. We're not going to increase or anything. This is what it's going to look like. Look how pretty it looks. So here, to do this, we're going to, first I'm going to remove the stitch marker here. I'm not going to remove this yet, but what I'm going to do here is I have my yarn, and with a crochet hook we're going to go right here to the very side, actually right here. So just pull a loop like this, and we're going to tie a knot here like this. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to pick up all of these stitches, and the way that I like to do this is in the following way. Look, we have the first stitch here. Oh, to do this we're going to use the same needles. I was just about to do this with the other one. Okay, so with the 4mm knitting needles we're going to do this. So with the 4mm knitting needles we're going to pick up all of these stitches here like this. So like this, and then grab a loop. If it's easier to just go around and pick up one stitch at a time without grabbing a loop here, then you can do that as well. I'm just going to grab a loop here every time I pick up one of the stitches, and I'm just going to do this. See, like this. So this here takes a little bit of patience because we're picking up our stitches here that have been here with this yarn. So with lots of patience, you just go one stitch at a time and then just grab a loop like this, see? And then go into the next and do the same thing. That's all I'm going to do here for this first row. We're just going to pick up all of our stitches that we left here waiting. When you do the other sleeve, you're going to do the exact same thing, except that you're going to start from the back towards the front. Okay, don't forget that. So here I'm just going to continue and pick up all of these stitches. You should be left with 38, so I'll come back and show you what we need to do next after I finish this part. Okay, I have all of my stitches here on my needle. So I have some stitches on this needle and then some stitches on this one here, because right now it's kind of hard to work all of the stitches into one needle. So we're going to kind of sort of work this with the magic loop, but just for a couple of rows. After that, you can just work this in rows without any problem. So you can remove your yarn here. You just pull it off. I'll do that later. So here we're going to pull the needles here in front, this needle here, and here we're going to go back and purl. So remember, you should have 38 stitches, so we're going to purl this stitch, then we're going to purl across like this. So this is the last one here. Now we're going to go here to the side, push this needle, and now you're going to pull this one here and then continue and just purl to the last stitch. And this is all we're going to do for this second row. Make sure you pull in that stitch so that it's not loose, and then continue and finish here at the end. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. Okay, I'm here at the end. This is the last stitch. You're going to also purl. Now we're going to turn for the third row. If I were you, I would keep this yarn here just so that you can count from here on the number of rows that I'm going to do using these needles, because eventually we're going to switch to smaller needles to do the rest of the sleeve like I did here. I did a total of 25 rows, so from here up to about here, using the 4mm knitting needles, and then I switched from about here to the end, just to about here. I did a total of 18 rows, and then I finished with 8 rows here for the cuff. So eventually we are going to switch to the smaller needles, but for now we're going to continue with these 4mm knitting needles. So all you're going to do from here on is you're going to slip this first stitch like this, and then you're going to knit across. The last stitch you are going to also knit, and then you're going to turn and then slip the first stitch just like I have done here. This is going to create a nice edge so that when we seam this part here of the sleeve, it's nice and almost seamless. As you can see, this is where I seamed mine and you can barely see it. So that's what I'm going to show you. So here, just work a couple more rows like this, and then you're going to be able to work this part here in rows without having to switch needles like I'm having to right now. So pull this needle and then continue and knit. Make sure that you pull on that stitch right there so that there's no gap. I'm going to finish this row, and then I'm going to show you what I mean here at the end. Okay, so here's the last stitch. You're also going to knit. See, like that through the center, and then you're going to turn this like this. And to begin this row on the wrong side, we're going to purl. So slip the first stitch and pull that stitch so that this stitch here is not too big, and then purl the next stitch until you come to the last stitch, where you are also going to purl the last stitch, and then you're going to turn for the next row. You're going to be on the right side, so you're going to slip the first stitch and knit across, and so on. You're just going to continue like this for about 25 rows. I'm going to come back and show you what we need to do after we finish doing this part here. Okay, I did a total of 25 rows from here up to here. There's 25 rows, so now let me measure it for you so that you know how much it's measuring so far. Let's see, it's measuring about 10 centimeters, which is about 4 inches. So now from here on, we are going to continue for a total of 18 rows with a 3.5 millimeter needle. So that here at the end, it kind of sort of looks like this. So this is what you're going to do. So all you're going to do is just continue from here on, and I would recommend putting a stitch marker here so that you know to start counting from here. So that's, you slip the first stitch, and then you just continue and knit all this row, and then turn, slip the first stitch, and then purl across. That's all we're going to do. So put a stitch marker here and then continue for a total of 18 rows, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what we're going to do to finish the sleeve here. We're going to do the cuff. So continue with your little sweater, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making the sleeve. It's measuring from here up to here. It's measuring about 16 centimeters, which is about 6.25 inches. So I did a total of 18 rows using the 3.5 millimeter knitting needles. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the cuff here, this part here, and we're going to do about 8 rows. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. So to do this, all we're going to do here is you're going to slip the first stitch, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. Now, if you want to make the sleeve a bit longer, you can. I left it as it is for the size that I'm making. I didn't make it too long or anything, but now I'm overthinking about just maybe I should have done a couple more rows. So if you want to do maybe a couple more rows, you can even fold the cuff like this so that the baby can wear it a bit longer. Unfortunately, I already cut my yarn and I don't want to undo the whole sleeve to do this. So if I were you, I would go ahead and add maybe 4 more rows to this part here to make it a tiny bit longer. So here we're just going to continue with the purl 1, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and purl, knit to the end here. So I'm going to show you this part. All you do is purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. So purl, and then the last stitch, knit. Now turn, slip the first stitch, and then we're going to knit and then purl, knit, purl. This is all I'm going to do all the way to the other end. So I'm going to fast forward this part. Okay, here's the last stitch. The last stitch we are going to purl. So here, when you're on the wrong side, you're going to have 2 purl stitches. Turn, slip the first stitch, and then knit 1, purl 1. This is all we're going to do, so continue until we have about 8 rows. So this would be row 3, 1, 2, 3. Continue, and I'll meet you at the end of the 8th row. Okay, I finished my 8 rows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cast off our stitches here. So we're going to slip the first stitch, knit the next, and then bring the first stitch over the second. Now the next one we're going to purl, bring the first stitch over the second stitch. Next one, knit, and bring this stitch over like this. Next one, purl, and bring this stitch over. This is all we're going to do, and then we're going to go ahead and close the sleeve here. So continue, and I'll meet you once this part here is done. Okay, I'm here at the end. I have my last 2 stitches, so I'm going to put this last one here, and I'm going to knit both of them like this. Now we're going to cut our yarn. Make sure you leave a pretty long tail, about that much, enough so that we can seam this part here. So we're going to now pass our yarn through this last loop right here like this. Perfect. And now we're going to close the sleeve here. We can remove this. We don't need it anymore, so I'm going to remove it. Just pull it, and we're going to close this part on the right side. I'm going to remove the stitch marker here, and now we're going to use one of these needles here, and we're going to go on this side and through the first stitch, then go through the last one, this one, and then go through the first one again like this. Perfect. That's what it looks like. Now we're going to go row by row, make sure that each row corresponds with the other side. So right along the very edge we have these stitches. Make sure that it's the very edge, see right there, and we have it on both sides. So we're going to go here to this side and then go like this here, and then find the corresponding row here on this side like this, and then find the next row like this, and the next one here, and so on. This is how we're going to close this part here. Now you're going to have to do this with lots of patience because you want to make sure that all your hard work here pays off once you finish here. And you don't want to have a messy seam here because then all of your hard work's not going to be worth it. So you're just going to go in and out, in and out. And I'm going to do a little bit more here so that I can show you what it looks like. Okay, so here, this is what it looks like so far. That's all you're going to do. Once you pull this, this should close and look like this. So continue, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to close this part here under the sleeve. Okay, I finished closing this part and that's what it looks like. So now what we're going to do here under the sleeve is, there is no right or wrong way doing this part here. We just want to make sure that this gap here is nicely closed. So the way that I like to do it is, I like to put both sides like this. Let me bring this sleeve here on the inside so that you can see. So we have our sleeve. This is where we seamed. So right about the center, we're going to do this like this. This is where we added the extra stitches right here under the sleeve. So I'm going to go right across like this just to reinforce the stitch here, the last one that I did. And then I'm going to go right through the very center right here. That should be okay. So right there, and then go back through like this again, and then one more time like this. Now look and see how it looks. That looks okay to you, then leave it like that. To me it looks fine. Maybe this stitch here is a tiny bit big. So let me see if I go, it's on this other side. So this side here looks okay. And then we're going to go here on this other side and we're going to do the same thing. You're just going to go through like this. And then go back and look. Yep, that looks pretty good. And all we're going to do here is just reinforce these last two stitches here. I'm going to tie a little knot here. Let me look again. Yes, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to cut my yarn here. This is the yarn that was left when we started the sleeve, so I'm just going to tie a knot like that. And then just hide your ends here under the sleeve, and the sleeve is done. Let me show it to you. And here's the finished sleeve, and this is the bottom. That looks pretty good. There it is. Now let me measure it for you. Give you a final measurement here for the sleeve. Right from under the sleeve up to the end, it's about, let me see. It's about 20 centimeters. This is about 20 centimeters, which is about 8 inches. Now, like I said, if you want to make yours a little bit longer, go ahead and do it. For the size that I'm making, this is just right. But I like my sleeves a tiny bit longer, and I should have done that with this one, but I didn't want to undo everything. It should be okay. So here's the finished little sweater. Now what I'm going to do next is going to be optional. As it is, the sweater is done, okay? But what I'm going to do here is, with a crochet hook and some yarn like this. This is baby yarn number 3 in this off-white color. I am going to go around and kind of sort of fix this here a tiny bit. So make a loop here. I have one ready. Insert your hook right here. This is where we finished when we did the bottom part. So you're going to grab a loop here like this, and we are going to chain 3. This is a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and this yarn here is baby yarn number 3, or you can also use DK weight yarn. Now we have the stitches here along the side, so I'm going to skip one, and into the next I'm going to go in and make a slip stitch. Then again, chain 3, skip one, and into the next make a slip stitch. Chain 3, skip one, and into the next a slip stitch. This is how I'm going to do this part here. Just continue like this for this side. 3 chains, skip one, and into the next make a slip stitch. That's what I'm going to do here. So continue, and I'll meet you right about here to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm here at the top of the neckline. Now here I was going to do slip stitches, but I'm just going to continue with the same thing. So chain 3, and into this next row right here, make a slip stitch, chain 3, skip this row in the middle, and then into this row, make a slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3, and slip stitch. This is how I'm going to do this part here, and then you're going to continue along the other side right here and do the same thing we did here on this side. Now continue, and I'll meet you here at this other end. Okay, I finished this side here. Now we're going to continue in the same way here for the bottom. So all you're going to do is chain 3, skip 1 and into the next, insert your hook right there and make a slip stitch, chain 3, skip 1 and into the next, a slip stitch, chain 3, skip 1 and into the next, a slip stitch. This is how we're going to continue, so I'll meet you at the other end. Okay, I'm here at this other end. I just joined to the beginning. Now I'm just going to pass my yarn through this last loop, and all I have to do is just hide my ends, and this is what it looks like here at the bottom and here along the sides and the neckline. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Now I also went ahead and did this sleeve just to see how it looked, and I actually like it, so I'm going to do it here on this other side. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. So just make a loop. It's going to be done in the same way as we did here for the neckline. So just go right here into this very first stitch here, or just pick a spot. This is where I finished. That's why I'm saying this is the first stitch here. So grab a loop and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then just go into the next right here. This here is the knit row, and then in between are the purl rows. So I'm just going into the knit rows here along the very edge right on top like this, and that's all I'm going to do all around the cuff. So continue, finish this part here, hide your end, and then I'm going to come back and show you the finished sweater. Okay, I went ahead and finished this other side here. I just joined to the beginning, and I'm just going to pull this yarn through, and then I'm just going to hide my ends. So this sleeve here is done, and that's what it looks like. Now here's the other one, and the baby sweater is all done. Look how beautiful this is. This is what it looks like here from the bottom, and let me show you the back here. There it is. And here's the bottom. Now if I had to redo this little sweater, I think it's a tiny bit long, not by much. Maybe I would do maybe 5 rows less, right about here, so that it's not too long here. But regardless, I think it's beautiful. You can change the length there if you like, but it's all done. Now let me give you the finished measurements. From the top of the neckline down to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 31 centimeters, which is about 12.25 inches. From under the sleeve to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 18.5 centimeters, which is about 7.25 inches. From the top of the neckline down to the end of this last row here, it's measuring about 34.5 centimeters, which is about 13.5 inches. And the waist, just on top, it's measuring about 27 centimeters, which is about 10.5 inches. And this part here right across, it's measuring about 13 inches, which is about 5.25 inches. So based on these measurements, this little sweater here is for baby girls between 12 and 18 months old. Now I also went ahead and added 3 buttons here. I only had 3. I need to go get some more, but I'll go ahead and do that after, and I'll show you the picture at the end. These are the buttons that I used. Let's see. I got these from Hobby Lobby. They are 5/8 of an inch or 16 centimeter. I think that's what it says. I can't read this number. It's so little. I think it says 5/8 or 16 millimeter buttons. Okay, so this little sweater is all done. I hope you liked this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.